Hello, right, so today I'm going to talk about fibre. This is a post that I'm kind of got in draft form at the moment, which will be sitting on my Substack newsletter. I'll put a link as well to my Substack if you wish to go and have a look at that. My name's Cheryl Best. I'm a nutritional therapist and a trained yoga teacher. I'm also diagnosed with chronic illnesses, and I talk and I write about chronic illnesses and health and wellness. Okay, so I'm going to talk about fibre, the importance of having fibre in your diet, the importance of it just for general health, and the importance of it for chronic illness sufferers. Okay, so a lot of the times when we think about fibre, we tend to think about being constipated, and not sure if your childhood was anything like mine, but if I was having toileting problems when I was a child, the first thing that my mum would go and get was the Epsom salts, and then the second was cereals. Now, I'm not sure if the Epsom salts is possibly something that you're quite familiar with. Usually people of a Caribbean background, like myself, will might probably resonate with that if their parents were of a certain generation coming from the Caribbean, whether in the UK or America or whatever else, or living in the Caribbean. And yeah, usually it was Epsom salts, or she'd go and boil something, some kind of bush or something that she'd have, and she'd go and boil that, and that was like the cure for all. That's the cure for the constipation sort of thing. So that was a big thing. So usually when we're thinking about fibre, it usually is to do with constipation. That's what a lot of people are thinking about fibre for. You know, if you're constipated, then that means you're not getting enough roughage. And roughage was a word that used to be used quite a lot, but I don't hear it very much now. But yeah, roughage is basically another word for fibre. And to be precise, it's more about insoluble fibre. And insoluble fibre is fibre that our bodies don't really digest, but it's a fibre that we all need and probably don't get enough of it. So fibre really is a superpower to health, even though we do tend to think of it as being for constipation, but it has got a lot of benefits, and it's something that I don't think we talk a lot about. And I do feel quite sorry for fibre, because it gets kind of lost, especially in the diet and nutrition world. I think it gets lost behind, you know, the sexiness of like vitamins, minerals and herbs. And so I'm here really to defend fibre and to be a friend of fibre, and just to kind of big it up a little bit and say how important it is, because it might not come across as being very sexy like vitamins and minerals, but it is a sexy thing, and we need to be talking a lot more about it and including more of it in our diets, because really we're not getting enough of it, and it's a big deal. We really do need fibre in our diets. So the recommended daily intake for fibre is 30 grams a day, and the Mayo Clinic websites, I've been doing a bit of further research, they actually say that men aged 50 and under should be having 38 grams of fibre a day, and men over 50 should be having 30 grams. Women aged 50 and under need to be getting in 25 grams of fibre, and women over the age of 50 should be getting in 21 grams of fibre. So what do you think is the average amount of fibre? On average, what are people getting in usually? What do you think that could be? So I'll give you a bit of time to guess that before I continue. So have you guessed? So we should be having 30 grams, and the average is 18 grams. So they say that on average, most people are getting in 18 grams of fibre a day, when really we need to be having 30 grams of fibre a day. And this number really does depend on where you live. And unfortunately, countries like where I'm living in the UK and the US are most likely getting in a lot less than the 18 grams. So we really do need to do a lot better. So further doing some research, I looked into kind of what the average is, you know, based on countries and stuff. And there was some research, a study that was taken out by the PubMed website, and they researched, it was 5 countries of people that come from African descent. And so originally it was supposed to be for 5 countries, but then in the end it was based on 4 countries, because the South Africa, I think the results there were skewed and they couldn't use that for the research. So the 5 countries were Ghana, Jamaica, the Seychelles and the US. Right, so there was 1,940 participants in this study, and the ages ranged from between 25 and 45 years old. Now, the results showed that 43% of those people who were from Ghana, they met the fibre daily requirements. So 43% of those people that have Ghanaians, they met the requirements, 43%. The Jamaicans, it was 9%. The Seychelles, it was 6%. And then the most shocking was from the US, where only 3% of those participants from the US met the daily fibre requirements. And like I said, I'm from the UK, and so I would guess that if that study was also done in the UK, then it probably would have been pretty similar to the US numbers. So this is it's a huge concern. It's a huge concern for countries like the US and the UK. And this study, actually, the reason why it was carried out was to look at cardiometabolic risk factors. So when we're talking about cardiometabolic risk factors, we're talking about monitoring heart disease, circulatory diseases, and diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And so they're looking at these countries to see, what differences do these countries have when it comes to those specific diseases, but also looking at the fibre content, because fibre plays a huge role in those diseases. So this very unsexy thing, fibre, it has such a huge role for our bodies. It's important for our heart. It's important for blood pressure and circulation, especially good for those things because it helps with lowering cholesterol. It's very good for balancing blood sugar levels. That's where the type 2 diabetes things comes into that. And then weight management. So a lot of people turn to like diet and nutrition because they're looking to lose weight. And so increasing your fibre intake will help with losing weight, will help with managing weight. So fibre is so important, and we're not getting enough of it. And if you are kind of listening to this, or you're reading the post and you have got those kind of diseases, you have issues with when it comes to your heart or circulation or blood sugar levels, when it comes to diabetes, then increasing your fibre intake, it would be so beneficial for you to be able to do that. So examples of high fibre foods. So high fibre foods would be whole grains. So that would be things like oats, quinoa, brown rice, legumes. So that's your beans and your lentils. Nuts and seeds, high in fibre. So that's like your chia seeds and flax seeds. Then fruits, apples, berries, oranges, and I'd say apples and pears. They're very fibrous, have lots of fibre. They have a fibre which is called soluble fibre and has pectin, which is extremely beneficial. So if you have issues where it comes to cholesterol and you're needing fibre, or you're having issues with toileting issues, or if you have issues with blood sugar levels as well, then adding in fibrous fruits, apples, they say the saying, an apple a day, keep the doctor away. If you can get an apple in a day, would be hugely beneficial. So you're getting that fibre into your diet. Okay, so vegetables as well, sorry. So vegetables like broccoli, carrots, and leafy greens, really beneficial for getting in your fibre, raising that fibre intake. So to finish up here, get your fibre in. Okay, it's so important to do that, to try and increase your fibre intake. And if you've listened to me before, or if you've read anything that I've put out there, I'm not a huge advocate of like changing your diet overnight. So changing it and making these great big drastic changes to your diet. I'm quite against a lot of those kind of things. I'm more about trying to increase foods into your diet so you can allow these things to become a habit and allow it to become a part of your life, making these lifestyle changes so they last for life. So think about adding 1, 2, or 3 new foods into your diet, and seeing if you high fibre foods, and seeing if you can keep going with that long term. That's the goal. That's what you want to be doing, because you want these things to be part of your life for life. Don't want it that you're going to change these things and you're only going to be able to stick with this thing for a week. That's not what we're looking for. Okay, so don't go and start eating tons of high fibre foods that you're not used to eating, foods that you don't like eating but you feel like you need to force yourself to eat. Experiment with different types of foods, experiment with different tastes and things that you're going to enjoy, and then figure out, is this something that I can be including into my life all the time? That's what you want to be doing. That's the goal. Okay, so whole grains, I just want to talk about that as well. So there is this big thing with carbohydrates, and yes, in some sense we do need to look at lowering our carbohydrate intake. But when it comes to the study, those people that were from Ghana that had the very high fibre intake, they also had a very high carbohydrate intake. So there's this whole thing now where, we need to cut out carbs because of the sugar, and we need to do this and do that. The issue really isn't the carbohydrates. The issue is the type of carbohydrates. And that is because a lot of the times, especially in a westernized diet, so speaking about people from where I live in the UK and in the US, we are eating quite what we call a refined diet. And the refined diet means that the fibre is stripped away from a lot of these really good foods. And especially it's stripped away when we're eating cereals, pasta, rice and bread. And so if you really want to be increasing your fibre intake, you really need to opt for whole grain varieties of foods. Okay, and it might be, yes, that the taste of it doesn't feel right because we're so used to having this stripped out, bleached kind of food that we've been used to having. But if you're looking for this to to improve your health, then I would really advise to look at whole grains. So instead of having your white rice, try brown rice. And even if you mix it, so if you're having a combination of the brown and the white rice to start off with, you can do it like that. Same thing with pastas. We do tend to eat a lot of the white pastas, but instead see if you can look for whole grain pastas. And again, if it's that the taste is too much for you, then mix it. Have a bit of both of them. So you're getting the blends of both worlds, to start off with. But really do need to look at the refined grains, because that is a big issue for a lot of us. And so it's not necessarily about carbohydrate intake, it's about the types of carbohydrates. So go look for the whole grains. And then also including lots of fruits and vegetables. So if you are having a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, then you will be most likely meeting that 30 grams. So if you can start to increase your intake of fruits and vegetables, that would be very helpful. Okay, so you might think that the 30 grams, especially because I've said that 3% of people in the US, based on this study, are meeting the requirements of the 30 grams a day, and that does sound like it possibly sounds that it must be impossible to meet these requirements. But I just wanted to give you a few examples of foods where it might be that you can meet the requirements of the 30 grams. Okay, so an average bowl of porridge can give you 9 grams of fibre. Okay, so if you're having porridge in the morning or oatmeal in the morning, then it's most likely that you're going to be reaching a third of your fibre intake for the day. Okay, 2 slices of wholemeal bread will give you 4 grams of fibre. Half an avocado gives you 5 grams of fibre. Next one is my favourite, popcorn. 3 cups of popcorn can give you 4 grams of fibre. And then 3 teaspoons of chia seeds can give you 5 grams of fibre. So you can see that, if you're adding some of these things into your diet, it can be, I'm not saying that you need to get to your 30 grams straight away, but you could see that, yeah, you could start to increase your intake. Okay, so to finish up here, just want to say, just don't forget the importance of fibre, because, we do think about, if we want to change our diet, we look at taking all these supplements and, looking at vitamins and minerals and looking at the deficiencies that we might have there, and we start popping all these pills, and it's quite easy to do that. Or we might even try a supplement for fibre, and if to begin with, that might be something that might help you. But we can get here naturally. We can get to that point by the foods that we choose. So it is achievable. You can do it. So don't forget the importance of fibre, and start experimenting with these fibre-rich foods. Okay, so testing it out and seeing, do I like the taste of that? Even if it's apples, like try different types of apples and seeing if there's a type of apple that you enjoy. And if that's the one, then stick with that. If you know that that's going to be something that you can do most days, then sticking with that. Okay, so I hope by doing this podcast now that you can see the importance of fibre. It's not just there to allow for a healthy bowel, to allow you to go to the toilet. It's very important, and you can see that the benefits, especially if you have issues when it comes to cholesterol or heart and circulatory kind of issues and blood sugar issues. I'm sure you can see the benefits that would have if you could just look at increasing your fibre intake. Okay, so this is a pretty long one for today, but I'm going to finish it there. So I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic day, and I will be back on here very, very soon. And then if you would like to also read the post, then if you go onto my Substack newsletter, which I'll put a link to my Substack in the description area, you can click on there and have a look at all the posts that I've done, and hopefully those will be of some help to you. So have a fantastic day. You take care. Bye-bye.